After I lost my breast and I lost my husband and I lost my two jobs on Ellen and Hallmark Channel, Home and Family, it just seemed like life was just really kind of beating me down a bit. Our eyes locked and nobody else is in the room. We don't talk to one other person. We have lunch. He asked me for my number, and 3 months later, we were married. I just felt like God just kind of opened my heart a little bit to say that, you know what, I have more for you.
What are your main skin issues or beauty products?
When you come up, your skin is snatched, your pores are tight, your inflammation is reduced, and it costs you zero, and it takes 20 seconds. My 60s are my sexiest, most confident, uh, most fun decade that I've ever had.
Welcome to Ageless with Jane McGarry, where we celebrate vibrant health, self-care, timeless style, and finding purpose at every age. Because around here, age truly is just a number. The last time I saw today's guest, I was sitting on her patio. It was a beautiful, sunny California afternoon, and I had walked over to her condo. I was at my son's condo, and she lived not too far by. And I walked over, and she was gorgeous. She was all dressed in white, I think I remember. And she brought out something delicious to eat and to drink. And we were sitting there, and we were talking about dating at the age at 60 or over age 60. Well, the next thing I knew, I turned around and I looked on my Instagram. Pictures were there. So you may know who I'm talking about today. My guest is joining me today. You may know her from Hallmark Channel's Home and Family Show, The Ellen Show, her own DIY beauty series, breast cancer survivor, correspondent for Fox and Newsmax. If you don't know who I'm talking about, by now, welcome to the show, Kym Douglas. It is fabulous to see you.
Oh, it's fabulous to see you. And the crowd goes wild. You're so
Girl,
sweet. I know.
girl, what happened?
You
I
know
saw
what?
we were talking about dating and you got married. Tell us the
Exactly.
deets. How did you guys meet? What happened?
Okay, so here's the story. You know, Jane, at this stage in our life, and any of your viewers or listeners, we don't have time to wait. So,
No.
we're talking on the Brentwood patio one day, and 3 weeks later, I'm walking down the aisle. So who knew? Not really. It wasn't that fast, but it was
It
pretty
wasn't
fast.
a long time. Yeah. How did you guys meet?
Well, let me, you know what? I will send these to you and you can actually, I don't know, with the lighting and stuff, but you can kind of see this is like a picture of us. And I'm going to tell you the whole story. I've got some pictures here. Anyway, so, here is the story. I am 66 years young. I'm so fabulous and happy to say my age because, as you know, I had gone through stage 3 breast cancer and wasn't sure if I was going to be here for another day, let alone another 7 years, which it was 7 years ago. And so I'm just so thrilled to just be here and be alive. But after I lost my breast and I lost my husband and I lost my two jobs on Ellen and Hallmark Channel, Home and Family, it just seemed like life was just really kind of beating me down a bit. And I was like, I'm not that person, but I'm just going to go inward and I'm just going to stay in my little cocoon and I'm going to have my friends like Jane over and I'm just going to have my girls around me. And that's going to be that. Well, then I kind of just rediscovered my faith. And I started going to this little church called Vintage Malibu in a elementary school gym where you walk into the church, well, the gym, Jay, and your feet, depending on what shoes you're wearing, your feet kind of stick on the floor because there's leftover peanut butter and jelly from the
Oh, I love
Friday
that.
of the little kids. And you pick up your own chairs and you sit them down. And it's just so rustic, I'll say. It's so not gold and not velvet. And it's just interesting because it's so simple and God shows up there every single Sunday. And so I started getting reconnected with my faith. and reading the scriptures. And I started a Bible study and I got baptized in my 60s. And I just felt like God just kind of opened my heart a little bit to say that, you know what? I have more for you. I know you've lost a lot, but I am the God of abundance and I'm the God of promises. And my promises were true back then and they're true today. So I started hoping and thinking maybe there was a possibility of me finding love the second time around. So I was married for 37 years to
Yes.
wonderful husband, wonderful father, and the love of my life, Jerry Douglas, who was an actor on The Young and the Restless, playing John Abbott for 40 years. And he was so wonderful,
Yes.
and we had a great love story. And he passed away from cancer 4 years ago. And so I just kind of started writing, Jane, the 10 things that I would want if I ever could fall in love again. And the first one was I wanted a mighty man of God. I wanted someone who I could share my faith with. And then I kind of went down the line, someone who was, positive and athletic and on and on. And so I never went on the dating apps. I never went on Raya. I never did any of that. But girlfriends would set me up, and it just never seemed to be the right fit. There was always just something a little askew. And I'm like, I'm not going to settle. And then one
Well, and
day,
I remember us
wait,
talking about that because you were saying you would set me up. You were
yes,
like, girl, come out here and
I
I'll set
know.
you up. I know
Exactly.
guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
So go
no,
ahead.
you're so right. And a few of the men that I went out with were lovely men. They really were. They were intelligent and they were successful and they were empathetic and caring. But there just was that one little like, it's not quite. So cut to a few weeks later. I have this little Bible study, which you are and all of your listeners are invited to. It's free. It's in Malibu. Everybody's invited, no matter where you are in your walk with God or without God. But I have this little Bible study, and my friend Christina Ferrari, who was married to John DeLorean, she was the first supermodel. Anyway, she and I were on Home and Family together for many years. And she's had a little health battle. And I was walking her out of the Bible study because it's a little cobblestone at this Malibu house. And her husband had come to pick her up. And the car lights were hitting us so that Christina would be able to see the pathway because it's nighttime by the time the Bible study's over. And we're walking out, and Tony Thermopolis, her husband, who was the head of ABC Entertainment for many years, was in the car waiting. And the two lights are shining just like you and I have lights shining on us right now. And Tony said he was sitting in the car and he's a man of faith, but not necessarily a guy who hears God every day or whatever. And he said he's sitting in the car alone and he hears the voice that says, "You have to introduce Kym to Tim." And he's like, "What?"
Oh,
And he was doing a business deal with my current husband, Kim Robertson. And Tim's wife, he had been married 47 years to the love of his life, had 5 children. They had a beautiful marriage, a loving relationship, were absolutely a wonderful couple. And she passed away almost 3 years ago from pancreatic cancer. So he had been on the phone with Tony saying, this is just horrible to lose, your love. And so that afternoon, Christina called me right after the next day and said, "Tony wants to introduce you to this man, Tim." And then Tony called Tim and said, "I want to introduce you to this woman, Kym." And we were both a little apprehensive. We're like, he lives in Virginia Beach. She lives in LA. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, we had a lunch set up a few weeks later with 6 other people. And Jay Seinfeld, his lovely wife, Tracy, myself, Tim's son, Christina, Tony. And I was just kind of like, it's Beverly Hills and it's lunch. What have I got to lose? I'm gonna go,
why not?
And Tim was the same way. He's like, I'm at a business meeting. I walk across the street. What's the worst that could happen? So he walks in and I was early. Anyone who knows me knows that's never happened. So that was the light of God. And he walks in and our eyes lock and nobody else is in the room. We don't talk to one other person. We have lunch. He asked me for my number and 3 months later we were married.
You are kidding. It really did happen that quickly
It
because
really
I thought, I guess I just missed what she was doing.
Jane, literally that quickly. I mean, and there's this quote that I want to share with your viewers and listeners, and it says, when you don't have to chase it, that's when you know it's God. And we didn't chase each other. We didn't play games. We weren't like,
Uh,
oh, I'm going to be coy. I'm not going to call her. We just were like,
all that garbage.
you're
Yeah,
just
all that
so
garbage.
cool. I just really like you. And he was the same. And we were just like, let's go out. Let's
I am so happy for you. I know everything you have been through.
Yeah.
You have had for a girl who's usually really happy and all that. You've been through a lot, and I
Yeah.
am so happy for you. I am thrilled for you. So tell me, he has 5 kids.
Okay, he has
You have a son. Okay, how is your son doing with the blended family? Because
Yeah.
I always think about that with my son. I'm like,
Right.
that's my son.
Yeah.
Would he like having all these other people
I
around?
know. You're so right. So I have an only child like you, and his name
Yes.
is Hunter Douglas, like the blind company. We don't own the blind company, but everyone asks us for discounts. I can hook you up maybe. Anyway, and he is 28 years old, and he just moved from doing finance in New York to finance in LA. And here is the quick story, Jane. I'm an only child. I had an only child. So we were a very small family, very loving, but very small. And I found out just recently that I knew this. I used to pray every night for a large portion of my life because I went through an infertility battle that I could have more children. And God, if I can't have more children, maybe you could help me get the right adoption situation or a foster family or a exchange student. I mean, I'll do anything. And I would go away to, and I didn't know this, Jane, but my son who had a very happy childhood, and we did everything for him, and we always were the house where everybody came. He would pray until he was in 11th grade every night that God would give him a brother or a sister or a bigger family. So, cut to when God is in the picture. This is our family as of the day.
Oh, that is beautiful.
28 family members in one day. So I went from one child to 29, and I have 70 step grandchildren and 10 stepchildren and step in laws. And I'm just, when God blesses you and he's in it, man, like I couldn't have even dreamed of this. Are you kidding me? Like how, and to answer your question, Hunter has never been happier. They are so inclusive. They want their dad to be happy. They lost their mother and they're so welcoming. And like Hunter is their brother or their uncle. And he's never had, been an uncle to that many children. So it's really beautiful.
I think that's one reason we bonded.
Yeah.
And I'm going to talk later about one of the main things we bonded over,
Please.
which was faith, which you were kind of surprised I was expressing, this is not that popular in California, but I had my only son, I think he has always kind of wished for the same thing, that he could have had brothers and sisters. And I was older when I had him, and that wasn't very easy to do.
Right.
So, so I really, really relate to that. Well, okay, I just got to ask you though, a lot of women who have been alone for a while, you weren't alone that long, but if you've been alone for a while, you get kind of set in your ways. Your house looks good. It doesn't have socks. It doesn't have dirty socks all over the place.
No.
And I know that sounds trivial,
No,
but
it
how's
doesn't.
that working out? How is it working out to now share your home with a new man?
Wow. Yeah. So here is the good news. He had a home, obviously, with his wife, and I had a home with my husband. And we decided the best thing to do was to get something that was ours, that was, just for him and Tim. So we got a place in Malibu, and it's made all the difference because it's ours. Where when he was at my home, it was Kim and Jerry's, and when I was at his home, it was Lisa and Tim.
Yeah.
So that has helped a lot. But the question still remains. Your question is a very legitimate one. Jane, I would wake up in the morning. My hair's in a ponytail. I'm in my fuzzy robe. I've got my footy pajamas on. I'm getting my coffee. I had my whole routine. I'm on Instagram, I'm seeing what Kane's doing. Oh, that's so cute. And it is an adjustment. I'm not gonna lie and say like, oh my gosh, but it's a beautiful adjustment. And here is my here is what I say to myself. Do I want to stay where I was or do I want a new adventure? Do I want to try? I'm healthy. I'm over 60. I'm, living my life that I didn't think I'd have after breast cancer. And so I want to experience everything that God has for me. So I was ready to jump in. Let's go. Let's see. And we travel a lot because he loves to travel and he's semi retired. So it's just been, he's opened up so many new doors for me. Now, do I get to watch The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills as much? No. Do I get to go out with my girls as much? No. But it's a good trade off.
What would you tell women who are listening right now and who are not desperate for someone else, but they're thinking to themselves, I have 20, 30 years ahead of me. It would be nice to have someone to share some of these things with. I can share it with my girlfriends,
Yeah.
but it would also be nice. What is there any advice you would give them? Because now I will tell you, like, for instance, with me,
Please.
I'm seeing someone who I've been seeing for a couple of years now.
Love it.
And what I would tell women, okay, I met him on Match, so the dating apps worked for me. That was fine. But I would say, if you knew some things about him and knew some things about me. I mean, I'm from a small town in Illinois, just like you're from a small town.
Michigan.
He grew up in Harlem, so totally different backgrounds, different lines of work completely. And so on the surface, you might go, I don't see the match here.
Right.
But he's a great human being.
Oh, I love
He's and so if there were things in the beginning that I was like, I'm not sure if we have this or that in common.
Yeah.
He's a wonderful human being.
That's
So that for me is the most important thing.
Absolutely.
It's the values someone holds.
Yes.
Well, I mean, so if you were going to tell women something about getting out there in the dating scene right now, what would you say? Over 60.
Over 60. So here would be my advice. I feel like you need to go and find whatever it is that you are passionate about. If it's a book club, if it's horseback riding, if it's
True.
playing bridge, whatever, whatever, if it's a knitting class, I don't know, whatever it is, you need to find the things that you're passionate about and be in there. And you would be so surprised, Jane, at the lady in the knitting class that you would never think who has a brother who just got divorced or lost his wife. Or, for me, it was going into the church. And all of a sudden, the church had this community around me, and they all were like, we're going to pray for you to find the right man. We're going to look into our families and our friends and our neighbors. And, I made my net a lot wider, but it was with people of integrity and character that I knew would bring into my life someone who also had what you said, a beautiful human being, a man of character and integrity that I wouldn't be like, am I okay? Does he want somebody 20? Is he, stringing me along? So that is my advice. Find the things that you're passionate about and delve in. Let everybody know. Tell them all, how are you? Oh my God, I love your red dress, Jane. By the way, want to let you know, I'm open to finding somebody.
Yes.
And that,
get out there and live.
Yeah.
Live
and everybody
life.
wants to help. If you don't think that, but they all want to be the matchmaker. Christina Ferrari ended up being my one maid of honor. I only had one person in the wedding. It was Christina. She now is a speaker at my Bible. You have no idea. I said to her, you brought so much to my life. She said to me, you brought so much to my life by fixing you up. So it's a win-win. And then I'd say, don't settle. Do not settle. No matter what age you are, it's never too late. It's never too late to find love. It's never too late for God. It's never too late. You're not too old. You're not too this. You're not too that. It can happen. And the right person is out there. So I just want to encourage women for that.
You're so inspirational with It's
Oh,
Never Too Late. And
it's
it's
never.
definitely never too late for you because you've got all kinds of projects you're doing. Plus, I want to talk to you about your favorite beauty hacks and all that. And we're going to do that in just a second. I'm really excited to offer you something starting in 2026. You know, this podcast is for women who are interested in being lifelong learners, living as well and as long as we can in a wonderful, purposeful way. Well, one of the things I love to do most is travel. And beginning in 2026, I have exciting travel opportunities to offer to you. I have chosen a provider who I trust because I have known Casey with Sharon Carr Travel for years now. Casey has traveled all the continents. He's been all over the world. If you have any travel needs at all, whether it's a tour with me or maybe you just want to go somewhere on your own, Casey at Sharon Carr Travel will take you there safely, in style, and you'll have a wonderful time. Thank you, Sharon Carr Travel, for being one of the sponsors of Ageless with Jane McGarry and supporting all of us women. Do you still talk to Ellen or ever see her?
I do. She was so kind to me, honestly, Jane. And I know there's been lots of different things, but you know what? You have to talk about people the way you find them. And I worked on the Ellen DeGeneres show for 17 years. And
I can't believe that.
I went on for one episode and they said, by the way, you're never going to be on again. This wasn't Ellen. This was the producers. She isn't interested in beauty. She doesn't care about lipstick. And you're like a beauty, expert. And that isn't going to be, but we'll get you in on this one time when she's getting ready to host the Emmys. And, it's not going to happen again. And I was her most reoccurring guest ever in the
You were.
years. I was. So,
And here's the thing. You were hilarious on that show.
it was all
So
Ellen. It was all Ellen.
Here's what I want to know. But no, it wasn't. It was you. And here's what I want to know. I find comedy incredibly intimidating. And I think a lot of people do. How do you get the nerve to just put yourself out there and be funny? Because you really have a lot of courage to do that, don't you?
You do. You do because you run the risk of looking really silly. And then, of course, you and I are blonde, so add that to it. Then you're a ditz and you're a Dumbo. But I just feel like I came from a background where I was in Second City, and I had a lot of improv experience, and I just feel like I'm not funny. I couldn't tell a joke to save my life. I couldn't do stand up if you paid me $50 million. But I do have, much like you, I do have funny quiz. I can find a quit out of something. If you were saying something, I could somehow, my brain works and I find a quit that makes people laugh. Or if I'm in a tense situation, I will somehow find the funny to just diffuse the nervousness and the anxiety. So Ellen was always extremely generous. She would lay it out, set the table for me to be the funny, and we somehow just always balance. But we never rehearsed one time ever. She was always right off the cuff. And I find that, Jane, if you use it as a ministry, that I'm going to make funny part of making people laugh. My purpose going out there was to make people laugh. And if that's what you're going to do, throw it all the wind. And in improv, the thing is, say yes to everything. Here's your improv thing. You're on Mars. You're getting a heart transplant and there's 4 monkeys doing it. Go. And you can't say like, wait a minute. No, you just have to say yes. Yeah, I'm doing
Yes.
I'm going with that. And it's the most ridiculous stuff. But say yes. And you know what? I've used that in my life too, to just say yes. Just say yes to the opportunities. Say yes to the thing that presents itself to you. Just say yes.
What do you use when? Okay, I will tell you because I do some coaching for people,
Yes,
and if they're nervous to be on camera or something like that, I will tell them once you've done all your preparation and all that, one of the things you can do to get yourself, and this applies to social situations too, not just on camera. I use gratitude all the time. I just think to myself, hey, how lucky am I to be here? How lucky am I to have this opportunity? And it just melts away a lot of the anxiety for me. is that, what do you use when you're nervous about doing something that you would tell other women they could use?
Yeah. So I was really nervous to meet Tim, at in your 60s in LA in natural lighting. Not so great. I mean, I was also nervous the first time I went on the Ellen show. I literally had to have a private nurse come to my home prior to going to the studio to give me a chemo pill because I had been so nervous.
Oh
Things
gosh.
had been, yeah, wouldn't stay in my stomach. So, this is the thing. You're going to get nervous. So don't say to somebody, don't get nervous because they will. And
Mhm.
secondly, I think your preparation, what you said, if you prepared for it and you know what you're going to do, and then you have your intention. I am going on the Ellen show to make people laugh. I am going to meet Tim because I
Right.
want to find a life partner. I want that. That's what I want in my life. So you've got your intention set. I say, obviously, my prayers, and I ask the Lord to give me a calmness and a focus and a clarity. And once I get in it, then I'm ready to go. So I guess I would just say I remember my late husband Jerry. I said to him, he'd been on the same show for 40 years. And I said to him, I said, do you still get nervous after, 40 years? He said, Kim,
Yeah.
the day I stopped getting butterflies when I go to work at the Young and the Restless is the day I quit working. And he never,
Yes.
never stopped with the butterflies. So embrace them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, the energy, if you channel the energy in the right direction, energy, nervousness can be a very good thing.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a couple of things here that I want to follow up on. One is we were talking earlier about, I think one of the ways we really connected was I was interviewing you or we were talking and I mentioned something, or maybe I had posted something about my faith and I'd been pretty open about it.
Yeah.
And we're having this conversation about how you were saying how much harder that is to
Oh, yeah.
do in Hollywood than it is in Dallas, Texas. We're just approaching that whole subject of faith.
Yeah.
But you are really out there now about faith. Can you talk with your new podcast and everything? And can you talk about how do you surmount that in Hollywood?
Well, wow. Um, I didn't for a long time. I just kind of was like, well, I'll just shine my light, Jane. I'll just, and I'll hope that people will see it. And then as, different things came into my life, as I mentioned earlier, cancer and loss of jobs and loss of husband, then I was like, look, the only thing I have to stand on is my foundation, and my foundation is my faith. So why am I hiding it? Why am I not free to share that with people? Many people in Hollywood are the first to say, I'm an atheist. That's the way I am. Take it or leave it. I'm an atheist. I don't believe in anything.
Right.
Or you know what? I believe in the universe. I believe in crystals. And guess what? They're really proud to tell you that. And then everybody at the dinner parties are like, tell me about your crystals. What's going on? And I'm like, why can we not say, well, I actually worship the creator of the universe. I worship the one that made it all. And I think it's all in the way that you deliver. If you deliver it in love and you say, this is what I believe, and you're
Hmm.
not, accusing or making anyone defensive, I think you can really open a lot of doors. Now, the other thing is I married a man, Tim Robertson, who his family legacy is the Christian Broadcast Network. His father was Pat Robertson. And
You're kidding. I didn't know that. What? I didn't realize that until just now.
yeah.
News. Yeah. I didn't put the two together.
No,
Duh,
my
me.
my brother-in-law is Gordon Robertson, who does the 700 Club and
Oh
whom
my
I
gosh.
adore. And they are part of Regent University, and they are a very, very strong faith-filled based family. And they are here's my thing for you, Jane, that I want to tell you. When the doors are shut, nobody's around, no one can see you. It's all
Hmm.
quiet. I've been around Gordon and I live with Tim. And I know the 5 daughters, the 4 daughters, and the 1 son, which is one big. They are more integrity and character than any people I've ever met. They live the life. They walk the walk and they don't just talk the talk. And being around people like that makes you want to be better. My husband makes me want to be a better person every day.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, I can feel how it touched you to talk about that. And thank you so much for sharing that with all of the women who are listening right now, who I know are looking for things. And that's actually evolved even in Hollywood, where it's difficult to talk about your faith, like you just said. I mean, you can say, yeah, you ought to be able to do it, but other people's opinions and what you're around matters. But now you've developed all this into an actual podcast, which I've listened to. I was like, oh my gosh, that's Diane.
No. Oh, she's such a hoot. She's so wild and crazy and fun.
So briefly, what's the podcast supposed to be?
Yeah.
Who's it for? What is it?
Sure. So our podcast is called God's Table Hollywood. You can find it on YouTube at God's Table Hollywood and on Spotify and Apple and wherever you get your podcasts. And after you listen to Jane, then you can listen to me. And it's really great. It's for women. All of us are at different walks in our faith journey. Some, like myself, are born in it. Others still aren't really sure where they're at with their walk. And so it's very open. And our tagline is God's Table Hollywood, where everyone has a seat. And truly, everyone is welcome. So I think it was just 4 women that, one is a 2-time Academy Award winner. One is a double daytime Emmy winner, Tracy Bregman from Young and Restless. The other is a celebrity nutritionist and chef to the stars. And then myself. And we've all been, very successful and very blessed in our lives. But we all know that it all stems from our foundation and our faith. And we share that with others, but we do it with fun and beauty tips and, dating tips and friendships that have fallen by the wayside and jobs that haven't panned out and divorces like Diane with the late Cary Grant. And we just share our life story. So it's really beautiful.
It was so fun for me to see her. I was really like, oh my gosh, that is Diane Cannon.
Yep. She's 88 years old. She has a figure that would knock your socks off. She has energy.
I saw.
Yeah, just goes crazy. She drives all over Malibu and West Hollywood. She's at every Laker game. The woman is a force to be reckoned with.
Oh, that's fabulous. I love all that. So I want to, after the break, I'm going to ask you about some beauty products and stuff like that, skincare things. But before we do that, I do want to ask you this, because I'm seeing, and I know we follow some of the same people on Instagram, and I'm following a lot of women who are about pro-aging in the sense of letting the hair go gray, accepting wrinkles, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm very drawn to that kind of thing in a lot of ways.
Yes.
And at the same time, I find myself doing what I can with makeup and all that kind of stuff. I can't imagine. You mentioned when you were talking about meeting your husband, that your now husband, that you met in Hollywood in the daylight, and how scary that is compared to all these girls in Hollywood who are, I can't even imagine the pressure.
Right.
How are you dealing with that whole subject? I mean, like, how much do you want to age? How are you dealing with all that in Hollywood?
Yeah. Well, here's what I did find. I have a tendency to, I see something or I hear about a new procedure and I'm like, I want it. Let me try. I'm the first one. I'll tell you, I got Botox here. I got a little filler here. I do micro needling. I mean, I'm the last of the ones to be like, oh boy, I'm happy to tell you everything I've done. But this is all my hair and I haven't had a facelift and no no judgment of anybody who does. But
Right. Same here.
yeah,
Same exact thing here. Botox, filler, all that. I'm
yeah,
scared, frankly, to have a
me
facelift.
too.
I'm just scared,
Me too.
but these are things I think about. And I think they're
Yeah,
good things for women to think
I do
about,
too.
not just automatically do one thing or the other, but to weigh it and go, how much expense and time and effort do I want to go to in
Right.
order? Because we are all aging. There is just no way around it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? Every day they come up with newer and less invasive things. And so I will always try the newest and least invasive for as long as I can hold out. And then I don't know, catch me in 5 years. You just never know what'll be happening.
Okay, we're going to talk about some of your favorite beauty products
Right.
in just a minute. We're going to be right back. Okay. What's the scariest thing to most people? Public speaking, whether it's in front of a crowd or if you're just speaking to a camera on your social media. Most people are terrified of public speaking, and sometimes they miss opportunities because they don't know how to promote their product or to speak well when it comes to public speaking. I've been doing public speaking all my life. I've been in front of a camera all my life, and I've done a lot of public speaking in front of crowds. And I have learned some tips and tricks that will help anybody. If you're trying to improve your communication skills, whether it's a video you want to do for social media, or maybe you have to speak in front of a corporate board, maybe you want to be better on your Zoom calls. I have all kinds of techniques that I teach. I do a master class for corporations that need someone to help them teach their executives, teach their doctors, their lawyers, other professionals who may have a lot of knowledge but don't always communicate it well. Jane McGarry Media is my website. You can book a consultation with me. I would love to help you. Before I ask you
Oh,
about your favorite products and body lotions and all this kind of stuff, I want to ask you one of the things. This is called Ageless. My
neat.
podcast is Ageless with Jane McGarry. And when I think of ageless, what I mean by that is, yes, I pay attention to skincare and the things that we're talking about and all that. But also, in a sense, I don't pay attention to my age. I want to continue to learn new things, to grow. I don't want to be um, stopped
Yeah.
by my age. Is that something you relate to? I mean, what your mindset as you age? What is your mindset, and how much difference does it make in your aging?
I have to tell you, Jane, this sounds so cliche. And as it's coming out of my mouth, I'm like, oh, please. But it's the truth. I'm being authentic. I think my 60s are my sexiest, most confident, uh, most fun uh decade that I've ever had.
I love
I
that. I
really mean
love
that.
that.
And
Why?
well, in my 20s, I was so self-conscious and so like, am I measuring up? And then in my 30s, I was so focused on, I've got to get pregnant. I've got to get pregnant. I have to have the baby. Then I have to have a second baby. How fast can I get them? My body's at my 40s were all about focusing on hunter and sports and all of that. My 50s were helping with Jerry and going through his difficulty, getting Hunter into the right college. And my 60s are just like, oh my God, I can just relax and I can just, um, I I feel comfortable in my body. I know what I want. I know what I don't want. I'm fine to tell somebody what I want. I feel really good about my weight. I'm not worried about, pregnant or not getting pregnant or, menopause. I'm over all of that. I just feel so good. And to answer your question about your mind, I am going with Tim tomorrow morning to Scotland and we're going pheasant hunting. Now, ask me if I've ever pheasant. Never. Ask me if I want a pheasant hunt. I'm not so sure. But I'm gonna go out because I got a cute outfit. I have knickers and I have a tweed jacket and a fun hat. and I'm going to go out and I'm going to meet new people and I'm going to try it. And,
Yeah.
anybody who's against hunting, I understand, but these pheasants are raised particularly for this hunt and we're going to eat them afterward. So if you eat any fish or any chicken, kind of the same thing. Um, and I love doing these new adventures. I love it. And I'm so open to it and I'm willing to try anything once. So, and I
You
have
know,
the time to do that now.
okay, I didn't want to pry, but since you mentioned it just briefly, for women who maybe are afraid about intimacy when they're older, or in fact, I think a good friend of mine, Dr. Jessica Shepard, who is here in Dallas, and she and I
Yes.
have done a podcast on hormones and how important all of this is. And we've talked about women's health in detail
Yeah.
about intimacy at an
Yeah.
older age. But what do you have encouragement for women as to whether things can work well when you're older? You mentioned that you know what you want now.
Yes. Yeah. I do.
And you're not afraid to say it.
Yeah, we do, we do. Um, so here is my thing. I went to my doctor when I knew I was getting married. And I said, I want to talk to you about this in a medical way. And we did. And she said, if you have any fears, there's this, and this that you can add to your health regime. And also just trust your body too, that your body will respond in the way it's supposed to, even if it has been a very long time since, your husband passed away or, whatever in your life. And I just have to tell you, when you are with the right person and when they are so gentle and kind to you, and when you're madly in love, it is amazing how the body just responds no matter what your age, ladies, no matter what your age, your body responds. And don't be afraid to go and find out the right things to help you if it doesn't.
And I love that you're saying that because sometimes it is confusing and you're
Yeah.
not sure. Ask someone. Don't be afraid to ask. And I agree
Yeah.
with you. I mean,
Right.
my experience has been that with the right help and with the
Yeah.
right someone to explain things to me, my intimate life is as good as it's ever been. So
Absolutely.
I appreciate you opening
Absolutely.
up about that. I appreciate you being open about that. I know
Yeah.
women look to you. Okay,
Thanks.
so what are right now as you're in your 60s? I think you said you're 66.
66. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm a couple years older than you.
Love it. You look great.
So thank you. What are your main skin issues or beauty products? What are you relying on right now what are your problem areas and what are you relying on? Give me two or three of them.
Okay, here's the first thing. So after cancer, I changed my entire skin regime to finding things that are, clean beauty. I don't use anything with parabens, phthalates, or fragrance. I find lines such as like Womaness, and you can get it at Target. It's under $40. I do a lotion every day and every night. No fragrance in it. And your skin is your largest organ, so you don't want chemicals going in there because it can affect your body. And so I use hydration with the moisturizer every day, every night. Just got out, wonder if you can tell, just got out of a spray tan by Natalie, who comes to my home. A spray tan, ladies, can hide a myriad of flaws. You just get your tan on. You can either use, a $20 lotion that you get from Target or wherever and just put it all over your body. And it really does. It just helps any of those little dimples or those little, areas that you're just like, I'm not feeling that great about. So
Yes. Yes,
in a
I
spray
know.
tan. Absolutely. And makeup or skincare that is not, comedogenic and also clean. And here's two really quick, almost free tips. In the morning, when I am going to be on Jane McGarry's show or on a TV show or doing God's Table, I get a bowl and I fill it with cold water and then I put as much ice as I can in it. And then I hold my hair back and I dump my face for about 30 seconds, even 20, into the bowl of ice. When you come up, your skin is snatched, your pores are tight, your inflammation is reduced, and it costs you zero. and it takes 20 seconds. So you do that. The next thing is, I always keep with me blotting pads, but I found that if you go into the ladies' room in any place and you get a piece of the toilet seat cover and you dab here, here, and here, it absorbs the oil and it leaves your makeup in perfect place. It costs you zero. So, I love to give tips. Do I use La Mer? Yes. Do I use other products that are really expensive? Yes. But I can invest in a spray tan if I'm doing ice water. So it's just all about finding that balance.
I love that. A spray tan, ice water, and the toilet seat cover.
Hello.
Oh, now. Perfect. That's perfect. Okay. Want to finish on a little bit of a reflective note, I guess. One of the things that made me want to start this podcast was that I'm in an age where I would say a lot of nights and most mornings I wake up and I think to myself, wow, I only have, I don't know, I don't know how long I have left, but I know that I'm nearer the end than the beginning.
Yeah.
And so I really think a lot about what I want to do, and it makes me have a different perspective on things.
Yeah.
Do you think about that kind of stuff? Do you wake up and think, gee, maybe I only have 20 summers left or 20 Christmases? How did that happen? But do you think about that kind of stuff? And what do you do with it? Because I know a lot of women think about it. What do you do with it when you think about it?
It's so interesting you'd say that. Sunday at Vintage Malibu, my church, the minister, Chris Bennett, was talking about the power of our words. And, Jane, I do think about it. I let it in, and I know obviously my age, and I know how much the span is. And I think about that with Kym. He's 70. We have a 4-year age difference. And, it's relevant. It's there. You don't want to be a ding dong and not think about it. But in my word, whenever he or someone around us is like, you know what? Well, you're getting older. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm feeling great. I'm better than ever. Every cell in my body is working. God gives me promises that I am going to have a long and abundant life. And I just rebuke that. So no. And I make sure that my words about my life and about my time is like, I'm going to live my life to the fullest. And you know what? Cancer is never coming back on me. Never, ever. And God has got his hand on my life. And I just speak words of not ridiculous affirmation, but real affirmation over myself. And I believe that. And I believe that for my friends and my family. And I think that does shift the perspective a little where you're not naive, like, oh, I'm here for another 50 years, but you're also not kind of focusing on that. You're just like, look at this morning. Look at this day that I have. I'm so grateful for it. And I'm going to go out and live life to the fullest. And I kind of flipped the switch on that.
I am grateful for the time that you have spent with us today.
Me
I
too.
really appreciate it. Where can people find you and all that kind of stuff?
Oh my gosh.
And I know they're going to want to follow you now.
I'm so glad you asked. I'm looking to build up my Instagram. And you know what? I do things that are positive and they are faith-based. So I lose followers because I talk about faith a little bit and positivity. So I would love any of your followers that want faith-based and positive things to follow me at Kym K.
I love the soft.
I know. Kym.
I love that.
Kym Douglas.
Kym Douglas.
Yes. And it's KYM, not KIM. So my Instagram, you can follow me. You could find out about the upcoming book about Kym and I, our love story. And it's called Love After Loss. And God's Table is on YouTube or any podcast platforms that you listen to your podcast. And I just loved being on this with you, Jane. You're a force to be reckoned with. You're a wonderful, positive person. You're a girl's girl. And I love your energy.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your being on with me today. And I'm just thrilled for you. I'm really, really happy for you.
Next.
And I hope I get to see you the next time I'm in California,
Absolutely.
which I hope is soon. Thank you so much for subscribing and being part of the Ageless community. I call it a community because this Ageless with Jane McGarry is part of our community. We're going to be taking girls' trips together. We're going to be doing a lot of fun things as part of this community. And without you, it's not possible. So thank you for being part of Ageless with Jane McGarry. Have a great day.